Hoover Dam is one of the greatest engineering feats of the 20th century. Impressive, considering it was finished back in 1935. It tamed the mighty Colorado River, and it created the biggest man-made reservoir in the United States, Lake Mead. Ever since, this lake in the middle of the desert has been a home to wildlife and a tourist destination. But there's a whole other world down below.
There's railroad tracks right here. There is, this is some kind of screen with hoppers, and then there's a foundation over here. Okay.
Dave Conlon is an archaeologist with the National Park Service. He's also a diver.
You'll be in the chase boat.
And in this job, he gets to combine both.
I don't think that will get below 150 feet.
He and this team of divers will see Lake Mead as it's never been seen before. They'll be mapping the bottom, where entire buildings once stood and thousands of people worked, building Hoover Dam. It was 1931, the Depression, so thousands of men, many with their families, traveled from across the United States eager to work on the massive project. Boulder City was built to house them, and it's still here today. But the work was hard and dangerous. First, they had to redirect the river, a feat in itself. Then, to build the dam, they needed massive amounts of concrete. More than 100 million tons of concrete make up Hoover Dam. To make it, they needed aggregate, or gravel. So a huge aggregate plant was built near the dam, with an elaborate rail system to transport it in.
So this is what it looked like. If you look here closely, you can see this is a historic plan overlaid on top of the side scan sonar imagery, and you can see where the railroad tracks were and where the different piles of aggregate are. And now the red dot here is an area that we're interested in because there's a couple of different structures, a conveyor belt that goes underneath the piles of aggregate, some kind of foundation here controlled by a tower.
Because they've pinpointed the location of the plant, they know exactly where to take their boat. And even from the surface, because water levels are currently so low, you can see a tower that's part of the structure they're looking for. They'll be diving more than 50 meters or 170 feet down. The water is cold, about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and very black. But an entire work site begins to emerge. These walls and crevices would seem mundane on land, but underwater, they take on a surreal quality. There are piles of aggregate everywhere, hoppers where it was shoveled to make the cement, storage areas, and ladders where the workers scrambled in and out. It's worth remembering that close to 100 men died in the building of Hoover Dam. They worked with dynamite at dangerous heights and in tunnels where many were overcome with carbon monoxide poisoning from the equipment. Dave Conlon can only imagine what it would have been like to work here at this plant.
I'm sure it was very noisy. There were train cars coming in and out and crushing aggregate. I'm sure there was a tremendous amount of noise, so I don't think it would have been a very pleasant place. But it was certainly, in the depths of the Depression, it was a great place to be because it was steady employment and it was a good job. And you can think, boy, you know, 1931, 1932, people were here, and what a place this looked like. It's just really eerie, and some of it just looks like they were here just yesterday. You know, they just packed up and left.
3,000. Returns.
It's cool down there, you guys. You're in for a treat.
The next team of divers is getting instructions on where to look. And in fact, that is the whole point of the project.
If you follow that out, it'll go to one of the tunnels that goes into the aggregate piles.
So that in future, recreational divers who come to Lake Mead will have a guide map to local history. In fact, there's much more below than just this plant. Entire towns were evacuated, then flooded, once the mighty dam opened its gates.
There's all sorts of stuff here. I mean, there is the Lost City, which is an Anasazi ruin, which is underwater. There are historic mines and mills. There are ranches that were at the bottom of the Colorado River. They're all here, and that's all part of the larger project.
With the help of historical documents and technology, they hope to locate many of the structures that were lost underwater. Lake Mead may have covered them, but they're still there.